Just thought I'd do a quick video, last minute predictions on the David Haye versus Tony Bellew fight that's coming up this weekend. The build up has been really, really good. We can see clearly that Tony Bellew has gotten underneath David Haye's skin, and we saw that from the press conference in Liverpool, which I thought was quite hilarious, to be honest. And we saw David Haye let out a vicious tirade against Tony Bellew and against the fans at Liverpool, calling them all sorts of names and swearing at them and so on and so forth. So it has been extremely animated. And then we've had the news about David Haye's Achilles heel being damaged, and that there is a potential chance that this fight can be called off. And there was some rumours circulating, very short-lived rumours circulating that the fight would be called off, but that all amounted to nothing when David Haye openly made an interview on IFL TV after his public workout, suggesting that, talking very sarcastically about it and saying that, it was all rubbish, basically. So as we are, the fight is still going ahead. David Haye has openly said that even if his right arm fell off, then he would still fight Tony Bellew, and that he would beat him with his jab. Which brings me on to the next point about the actual fight. I mean, I just want to make one thing clear. I do like David Haye. I do like Tony Bellew. And, I think it's going to be a really exciting night of boxing. In terms of predictions, I think David Haye is going to beat Tony Bellew. And I think, potentially he could even win by knockout in the middle stages of the fight. But I mean, I'm going to play devil's advocate here and make a few points that pretty much Tony Bellew has made, and we can't deny. If you think about it, we can't deny that Tony Bellew has made some very, very valid points about David Haye. These are actual facts. Yes, he was a tremendous cruiserweight. Yes, he achieved, unified champion in the cruiserweight division, but that was many years ago, and David Haye is essentially outside of his prime. And it's true when he says he hasn't been in a competitive fight for 5 years, and Tony Bellew is a lot more battle-worn in that respect. And I don't mean battle-worn in a bad way. What I mean is he's been in high-profile competitive fights. He remembers what it's like to get hit on the chin and to get up and to win a fight. When was David Haye involved in a competitive fight? He might get hit on the chin by Tony Bellew and boom, he could age overnight. He could go into the 6th round, the 7th round, the 8th round, the 9th round, the championship rounds, and he could actually, run out of steam. So you really don't know what's going to happen with David Haye. A lot of people look at David Haye and look at him in his prime and look at his victories and think, wow, this is the David Haye of old. But the fact of the matter is that people age, and you can't deny that. Father Time catches up to you. So, Tony Bellew has made some valid points about him not being in competitive fights, from him being out of his prime, his shoulder injury. I mean, what if all that is true? You just don't know. He's got under, David Haye's skin. So anything's possible. I mean, you can't really deny those points that Bellew has made. They're very, very valid points. So we're just going to have to see what happens on fight night. But I think Tony Bellew looks really sharp in his open workout last night. I think they both looked equally sharp. I think they both looked powerful, and I don't think it's impossible for Tony Bellew to beat David Haye. I don't think it's impossible at all. I don't think this fight is a complete shutout. I mean, you have to remember that Tony Bellew made another pretty good point when he said, David Haye isn't a big heavyweight. He's just a big cruiserweight. He's a small heavyweight. So David Haye isn't going to go into this fight being overly heavy. I think he's wants to kind of stay at a weight that allows him to retain some degree of speed and power. And I think at the moment they both look both look sharp. I mean, Tony Bellew, said this guy trains to look good aesthetically. He looks good to get his six pack and to build up his muscles, but he hasn't trained for a 12-round fight like I have. And the purpose of this post really was just to hammer home the points that Tony Bellew has made in the run-up to this fight about David Haye, and to really put it out there that they are valid points and they shouldn't be overlooked. It's not just him yapping away. I think a lot of people have the tendency to look at Tony Bellew and think, well, he just talks a good game, but there is some substance into what he's saying. It's true. Father Time catches up to you. Haven't been in a competitive fight. He's not a natural heavyweight. He's a big cruiserweight, and he hasn't been in the ring for 5 years. He hasn't been in a competitive fight. So what happens when Tony Bellew gets through the early rounds and puts it on him? Let me know your predictions and thoughts below, and please subscribe.